Let's go Los Angeles Rams. And I think, the big thing here is Davante Adams. Just bringing him in.
Yeah, so there's another interesting one because I think theirs is about retaining their players, right? Now, Davante Adams, we'll get to him as an addition, but their big thing was, remember, at the start of this offseason, it was like, will they, won't they on Matthew Stafford? Like, he was a trade target for teams heading into this offseason. We were like, the Rams may deal away Matthew Stafford and go in a completely different direction. Now, that always seemed kind of crazy to me, and I don't think it was ever really on the table. I think the way it played out, they were basically using the market to tell them what to pay Matthew Stafford. Like, they had, in my opinion, my reading of that situation is they had gone to his representatives. Hey, we're interested in extending Matthew. The representatives were like, all right, here's the cost. And they're like, that's insane. Not a chance. And there was an impasse, right? And they then used the market to effectively bridge that gap and come to what the number should be. And in order to do that, it's like, well, we may trade him away, yada, yada. So they end up settling for an extension for Matthew Stafford. So they continue. The Rams were close last year. So you continue being in that window of, we could make some noise, we could win a championship. But that's the big thing, is they resolve the Matthew Stafford thing. And then once you get that solved, well, now you can go and add Davante Adams to this, effectively swap Cooper Kupp for Davante Adams in terms of how the offseason played out. Given where they each are at this point in their careers, I think that's an upgrade. Davante Adams can still 100% play. Cooper Kupp, less sure about what kind of impact he can make at this point in his career, given what he looks like right now. So I think that's an upgrade. And then, same thing with retention. Alaric Jackson was a guy that was being coveted as a potential left tackle option for teams. He got re-signed. They brought him back. So I think the Rams did a really good job of retaining pieces that could have left the building and then added Davante Adams on top of that.
And more important than Stafford and Davante Adams is they bring in Willie Lampkin in undrafted free agency.
Yes, naturally.
So we know that. No, I think the Rams, we had mentioned a couple of years ago, I thought the Lions were the first team in a while. You probably put the Lions, recent 49ers, teams that rebuilt brick by brick without a quarterback overhaul. So like what we just described with Washington. How did Washington rebuild? Well, they hit on Jaden Daniels. And so no offense to Jared Goff, but the Lions built that thing brick by brick. And then they brought in Goff, who had been all the way from Super Bowl quarterback to like a bottom 10 quarterback in given seasons. But they built this incredible team around Goff and, maximized him and got the most out of him. The Rams, they have Stafford, and you can rank him wherever you want. But from a case study standpoint, Sam, what a run by the Rams to go get Stafford, win the Super Bowl after years of going for it, stripping it down to the point where, 2 off seasons ago, we were like, who is playing for the Rams? I mean, this is Stafford, Aaron Donald, and no offense to the Senior Bowl, but like a college all-star game roster surrounding those two. How are the Rams going to compete here heading into the 2023 season? That was before we knew Kyren Williams was as good as he was, and Puka Nacua was a future star. And so now they've rebuilt this thing up, and now you have Jared Verse, and now you have Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk and all these talented players that they've added the last couple of years. This might be the next iteration of building a roster almost from scratch, with the only other piece being, hey, Stafford's been consistent here. And look, there's still some fun questions to figure out beyond this year, what happens with Stafford. But yeah, the Rams have done a great job, I think, rebuilding this roster. So for me, them being on this list isn't so much, it's kind of like a multi-year, hey, they've had this youth movement, hit on a lot of pieces, now sprinkling in Davante Adams. Love the Poona Ford addition. If we mentioned Bobby Brown III going to Carolina, I think Poona Ford has been that sneaky, really good run defender that a lot of teams over the last few years, the Bills, the Chargers, they've gotten the benefit of having on the team. Now the Rams get that guy. I just love this, what the Rams have done. So it's not these massive moves this offseason, but just the right additions to this foundation that they've built over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. It's not splashy, it's not spectacular, but I think this is a really good offseason for them, given where they were heading into it. I think it would have been very easy. I mean, if, again, I don't think there was necessarily fire where that smoke was, but let's say they had traded away Stafford. I mean, they would have blown this thing up and they would be done heading it. Like, this would not be a competitive team heading into 2025, the season. Instead, they are positioned to be a contender. I mean, this Rams team should be looking at the playoffs and thinking we can go on a run and we can get one last ring for Stafford and everybody else before he calls it a career. So I think it has to be seen as a successful offseason because of that.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.